So we are here at Green Earth and the Green Team to discuss and have a workshop about consent decision making at Green Earth as sociocratic methods in the name of love. So we have Matthias, who has had an extensive workshop on that topic, and he's introducing that because we all decided in consent already that we want to be structured and organized in that way. Tonight we're going to learn how to do that and what it takes and what questions it raises and where it leads us. So welcome everyone. We are here quite big. We have Filippa, Andreas, and in the off we have Kevala and Marcus and Eden. So I hand over.
Thank you. Yes, so consent decision making. So I want to thank for the invitation. How we decided to do this, and I think it's really amazing that we started in the way to make the decision together in a consent way to implement consent decision making, and then the suggestion came up to have a workshop. So I really think it's a good setup how we came to be here. And the inspiration to why this was brought up came through a workshop that I attended in Ängsbacka, and later Andreas attended. That's why Andreas is especially invited here, because he's attending the same workshop and can fill in what I cannot say. And the great inspirer and great trainer that both of us met there is called James Priest, and all the material that you will go through today comes from James Priest, and he's a sociocratic educator teaching sociocratic methods to different organizations, and his organization is called Thrive in Community, and you have it in these pages. And also some material is also from Diana Leaf Christian, so that's what we will discuss today. And I will also include the experience that we've had for the past months at Go for Life to express sociocratic methods and the sociocratic meetings and the consent decision making. So that's where we come from. So through this there is a few months of experience, but it's not that much. I'm really inviting you to do a co-creation of discovering what this subject is about, and I think we can reach really far. I have specified or written up a goal of this experience that we will have tonight. And the goal, one first goal I can mention is that I intend to end this by 9 o'clock. And then if we have some questions afterwards, we can see if we can have time for that also. But the goal of tonight is to create a good understanding of the concept of consent decision making. The goal is also for you to have arguments why consent decision making is good or not good from your point of view. I have a feeling that knowledge about consent decisions will connect you stronger to the purpose of why we are here, and to simplify so that more space can be spent in the heart, in the organization. Do you follow the last part? Mm-hmm. So that's the goal, and please keep this goal present during this hour, and check back if this will be connected. And after the hour I will also ask you if I remember if you think that we reach this goal together. Good. So this is a part of Sociocracy, and what we decided during our last meeting or 2 meetings ago, that we will have a consent structure in decision making as a part of the sociocratic system that we intend to implement over time. Do I remember it right? Yeah? During this hour there will be structures from consent decision making, but also parallel with sociocracy. We'll kind of combine it into each other. So it will take some extra focus to be aware of what is sociocracy and what is consent decision making. But I feel it's very important to explain the concept of sociocracy a little bit to be able to understand and understand the consent decision making, because that's how I understood it from the beginning. in the consent decision making in sociocracy, there are these 3 values that we have on the first page that we can reach, and that is effectiveness, equivalence, and transparency. And these are really vibrating well with the consent decision making as with sociocracy. So that's what we can reach. That the values, that's the things that we have in mind. That's why we're doing what we're doing. And as you see here, there's 3 parts of sociocracy, and consent decision making is one that we'll touch on today. We'll also touch some on feedback loops, and governance structure. So we are here in one circle, and this circle, and we are also having different departments of different responsibility areas that can be defined as another circle. So the top part here is the governance structure of sociocracy, and what it's mainly about is double linking. And double linking is one person feeding into the circle and one person feeding out of the circle. And by this, we create transparency and equivalence, so there is no information that is misled through the organization. So right now we are having one circle, so it's quite clear that no organization from any side or from above or from below anyone can be misled really. Yeah. Yeah, that's about sociocracy. Do you have any ideas or thoughts or any questions about this 3 triangle space of sociocracy? Do you see it even? Hey Jonas!
Terribly sorry, I totally forgot.
Välkommen!
But now I'm here.
Jag tar en stol till dig.
Can someone just hold the paper close to the, so I just can see the...
But you should have it online.
I have?
Yeah,
But now
Okay.
here it is.
but it's backwards.
No, not for her.
Thank you.
So let's move on. We have just gone through quickly about the sociocracy in general. So the main question that comes in that we have been starting here is like, why have a governance structure? Since we started with Green Earth, we didn't really have a structure, more that like Anna managed the store and then things just started to happen from decisions and ideas that Anna had or that we had together or got input from her. But it was not really a main structure. But I think it's a very important question, that why are we supposed to have a structure at all? Do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, because one person or 2 people can only handle so much, and I think it's going beyond. It's going beyond, and the synergy of more than one person together creates ultimate power, you could say.
Yeah, Marcus?
Yeah, I think when an organization grows, then information or focus tend to get lost unless you have structure.
You Did you hear a question?
Yeah, I just had to... if I had a question, or...
No.
If I had
why
a...
do you think it's important to have a governance structure?
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I definitely think that if there is a structure, I mean, it can be a big freedom if there is a structure where everybody can put their value and knowledge into something. I don't have anything else to say right now.
Good. Thank you. It's good if we keep it short. So thank you. Anna?
I think it's about this. If we want to expand, that was in my thoughts. First of all, is if we want to expand, we want to keep something that holds us together. So I think that's why we want to have structure.
Okay.
I will try to bring something new, but I don't have anything new.
That's okay. That's absolutely okay. It's also good that you respect the time. I don't have anything. Thank you. Andreas?
For clarity and effectiveness, I think it's important.
Jonas?
Pass it on, but I'm listening carefully.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for your thoughts. Well, what we can do also in the experience that I've had in the past months, most of Go for Life, and what I've seen with this work we've been concerned about today with the Vision Mission Name, when we have this in place, we can move back so much more. We can be relaxed so much more. We don't have to think. We don't have to spend that much time up in our head with our busy minds and thinking, should we do this, should we do that? We have a way. So for me to really have a clear governance, have a clear structure, we can lean back. We can be relaxed. We can be happy. We can be in flow. And we can let each other be in flow because we don't have to bother each other with this stressful questions all the time. We can just have fun, do our work that we need to move forward, to move the organization ourselves forward. The rest is taken care of. It's like boring stuff that can be day to day. So with the governance, I really see that we have more space to be in our true selves, where more space to be in our power, in our hearts, and express from there. So it's setting up the boring thing to do the amazing thing. One aspect. So moving on, there are some different methods of to make decisions and to where the supremacy in the decision making lies. So you can see that on the next page. Good. So this is also taken from James' Thriving Community, and there are different reasons to use different parts of this, but we can go through them quickly, and we can do it in a round. Andreas can ask, just read the first and the short sentence afterwards about decision making methods.
Supremacy to the individual or small group.
What's that called?
Authoritative. Right?
Yeah. Jonas?
Majority vote. Supremacy to the majority choice.
Good question. Yeah. Supremacy, supremacy, is that the same?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. It's English. Consensus with anonymity. Unanimity. Unanimity. Consensus with unanimity. Supremacy to absolute agreement. Or is it?
What is it?
And consensus with recourse, which means supremacy to agreement. A group reaches consensus on the criteria for recourse, often a majority, although this still leaves potential for a big enough minority group to block a proposal.
Eden, since you don't have this, we skip you and go to Anna. I hope you don't mind. Thumbs up.
Chance. Supremacy to the haphazard and synchronicity.
And last one, supremacy to the argument. So these are different ways of making decisions in different organizations. And the two first ones are most common used in society and in organizations. So the first one, authoritative supremacy to individual group, that's like a manager, a boss. It's the government making decisions for the people in indirect way, or it's like dictatorship. That's a clear example of authoritative leadership. Majority vote, that's what we have in the West world and in most countries all over the world, that you can, like, once every 4th year vote for someone, and then they make choices for us. Or there is, like in Switzerland, there's direct democracy also. Does anyone know about consensus?
Yeah.
Good. So consensus is pretty much that there is a proposal and everybody in the circle agrees. Everybody says yes, or says this is a good idea. That's the basic of consensus, and then there can be different ways of consensus also, that there are different interpretations of consensus. At a pure consensus organization is only there's a proposal and everybody agrees with it. If people don't agree, then nothing happens.
Even if one person.
Yeah. So it's really good if consensus works, that everybody agrees and everything. Yeah, this is such a good idea, and it really moves forward in good energy. But then if one person says no to 1,000, the agreement or the decision, the proposal will not be accepted. So then it's the minority deciding for majority. So it can be the majority deciding, or it can be the minority deciding. Either or. You follow?
Yeah.
And then consensus with resource, that you say that a certain limit of people have to consent. Recourse. Like you say, 80% of the group have to be in the agreement, and then it's okay. But then it's also the minority can then be the decision-making factor about saying no.
If it reaches that 20%.
Yeah, exactly. Or it can be in any kind of levels, and there is also in consensus there are systems working with that, working in ways that we come into in consent decision making, with solving the issue why people are saying no, or why they don't agree from the beginning, but then it's not clear the consensus way. So there are many organizations that have a good result with consensus, but that's most of the time because they adopt it in individual ways and develop the structure. I really like that this chance one is in it, like rolling the dice. What should it be? It's cool, but it's not too many decisions in the organization is made in that way. So and then we have consent, and the difference here, like in all other except chance, then it's the people decide. It's individual focused in a way. It's focused on the individual and how many individuals are thinking one thing or the other thing. But in consent decision, the focus is completely different. So the focus is not on the individual at all, it's only on the argument. And the argument, of course, comes from the individual, but it's something that is above us as individuals. It's the argument that we collect as a community. That is what is important. And by the practice of detaching ourselves from this decision-making process, we can also find it easier to be in a situation that someone is not thinking bad of me if we don't do it my way, because this is an argument for something that's bigger. Any clarifying questions?
Yeah, consent. It means that nobody says no, basically. So, for me, logically, it's the same as consensus, except if you have a different culture, because anyone can still a different culture, because anyone can still block a proposal.
In consent?
Yeah.
No. Are we coming to that?
Unless you have methods to deal with those situations.
Yeah. What is the difference in this is that in consent decision making, there is all proposals are accepted. If there is in consensus structure, and we have any kind of proposal out there can be a yes or there can be a no to the proposal. In consent, will never be a yes or no. All proposals will be accepted, but not necessarily in its original form. So all proposals will come through. I will come into detail.
They have to be worked with
Yeah.
if they're proposed.
Yeah. So a very good question. What is consent? So consent is a permission for something to happen or agreement to do something. Consent is permission for something to happen or agreement to do something. And there is a consent in the circle when there are no remaining objections to a proposal. Consent is when there are no remaining objections to the proposal. And with the argument, I also want, after some discussions earlier, I want to clarify what this word argument means. And the argument means a reason or set of reasons giving in support of an idea, action, or theory. You get it?
Mm-hmm.
So, from these methods, do you have any favorite ones now?
Consent and chance, but to go back to the question, if that's okay, it's still possible that a proposal has so many objections that it simply just doesn't go through.
In consent?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So can it be transformed so radically that it's so far from its first proposal? But then it's...
I will come into that.
Okay.
I will come into that.
Okay. Okay.
So this round, I just ask you to do some quick reactions on thoughts about, like, I really, this attracts me, and a short why this way of decision making.
Well, the consent, because obviously it's more about common sense and what is good for the goal. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm voting for consent decision making. That's good.
Okay.
And this is not a vote.
No.
Yes.
Okay, I save my vote until I get more details. As for now, I can't really separate consensus with consent. But I'm eager to learn.
I think it's interesting how within consent it's saying supremacy to the argument, whereas most people in their minds would think, oh, we give supremacy to the agreement.
That's the consensus, though. It says in consensus.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think it's a very interesting way to think, because it's almost like people say argument, they think, oh, argument's negative. You're arguing something. It's actually told in school, oh, don't argue. It's going to be something bad happen to you.
Yeah.
So to understand and think about what is the real characteristic or what is the real concept of the argument, beyond this kind of conditioned idea that argument is something, what in our minds we have as an argument, because I think it's a whole different concept than that actually the basic, feeling of that word is. So I'm very interested to hear more about what is this argument. Yeah.
I think there is a place for different methods, actually. If there's a fire, you don't have time for consent rounds, so the fire squad should work authoritatively. In action, at least. But maybe not while they're resting and deciding on procedures. But so far I don't know so much about the consent method. So far I like some sort of consensus in my experience.
Yeah. Okay. Eden.
There you are. A little bit lower there. No.
That's scary.
Yeah.
No, I mean, so far I really think the consent decision making sounds really interesting.
You say consent or consensus?
Yeah, it sounds like a way of saying yes to whatever is anyway is, and giving it place. And not like in a decision, but like making place for what anyway is in a when people gather and do something together. And I think that sounds very, very new in a way, and very interesting. Thank you.
Thank you.
I agree with Marcus that there's operative moments where it can be of value to have somebody just leading the action. But in general, as a meeting space, I feel that consent is best because it's so broadening, as Kevala said.
Thank you. So it's very important to just have that structure. What is this structure? What is this governance structure? What is this decision-making structure about? When can we use it? Can we use it at any point of time? Like the customer has a question when they want to pay something, or a question about the product, and there are two people working there. And should we get consent round about how to solve this customer's problem in the best efficient way? And the customer just standing like, what are they doing? What's wrong with these people? We don't understand anything. So it's really important that we clarify that where is this space for this kind of decision making, and where is space for other kind of interaction. So mainly the question then comes to what is the circle doing? Because the space where consent decision making is made in a circle. And it's made in a circle that has a task. It's made in a circle that has a purpose. It's made in a circle that has a vision, mission, and aim. It's in a circle where we know where we're going. But without a circle that has any purpose, then there's no reason to have the structure of how to make decisions, because we don't know in what direction we want to go. So that's number one. We have to be a group of people going in some kind of direction, and we need to know what decisions that we can make in this circle that we are in. So, for example, the circle can be made in the circle by creating new policies. It can be used for role election, choosing people for different roles. It can be done for other structural decision makings, but it's not something that is used necessarily at all in anything that has with operations to do. So in the daily work, we don't use that. So if there is a manager of Facebook and events, that person does not have to create a consent round of it's the people in that group to see to make decisions. It's a person managing this and making decision, because that person has been elected in a role election, and we trust you to make the right decision for this group. And then it's about going into action. So most of the decisions that are made in consent way in a circle are more abstract than the day-to-day tasks we do. So to understand what kind of policies is, I think it's quite challenging. What is a policy, or how are we handling policies, and what are they all about? And I know Anna's made great work creating different kinds of policies to simplify the work here. Marcus' translation is riktlinjer, and I think it's really good in Swedish. Riktlinjer. The best reference I have to policies is from James Dalton, who describes it as the river banks. So the organization is the river, is the movement of energy going in one direction. We know where we're going, we know where our vision, mission, and aim are, so we're all moving there. and the policies are the riverbanks saying, here we are, don't step outside this, because then you're breaking the lines and you're doing things that will actually not go in that direction. Then if we break the riverbanks, it will become a small line of water going somewhere else, and the power will not be good in that direction. So what happened, we make policies to make it clear where these riverbanks are, and we have made policies that are as wide as possible, because we want to be able to float as much as possible within this space. So we can be free. Because what we expect basically is that we expect you to be great. We expect ourselves to be great, to be infinite power. So let's have as much power as possible, but just as a main structure, so we don't do things in wrong directions. Yeah, so on the next page, policy matters and operations, two distinct types of meetings. There is a clear description of Sociocratic circles, and I really recommend you to read through this. What is interesting is circles are semi-autonomous units made up of people who share a common aim. So in a Sociocratic organization, there is something called a top circle, and top circle makes the most abstract decisions about the big vision and mission of the organization. And then there is a general circle that creates like how are we doing it more hands-on, and then there are operational circles that people in the different units that are directly into action. So they are semi-autonomous, and it means that these circles can make decisions that the other circle has decided in what space they have the power to make decisions, and what space they are not in power to make decisions. Is that clear?
Mm.
And by that we also get freedom. That's really simplifying our lives. That we can just say, I don't have to bother about that. I don't have to think about that. Other people are doing that, so let me to focus on what I'm good at. It simplifies the world we're living in. But the people in the top circle, it's not that they're a better circle, it's just called the top circle, or it can be the base circle, whatever you want to call it, just another circle. And they're making the most abstract decision about the organization. So we make it everybody agree in a consent agreement, but we don't decide about anything at every time, but what we're supposed to decide about. Then it speaks more about riverbanks. So so back to the common aims, creating policies, a course of principle of actions adopted or proposed by an organization or individual. So create policies in the aim. So any circle needs to be focused on common aims. If there is, I see, some people say that you can have a consent organization, a consent decision-making organization, like a government, even if they're different political parties. I don't really see that happening, because there are people of so different points of view. They are rarely having the same ideal world either. They don't have the same vision of the world. So for me, that's too far beyond. But as long as we have the same direction, we will always come to a solution, as if we put enough time and space into it. Yeah, so let's do a quick reaction round, starting with Marcus.
About what?
About what we've been talking about so far. Is there any questions or any thoughts that have come up?
Mm-hmm. Not at the moment.
Or if you feel that you need any clarification about it.
No.
Eden?
Yeah, what comes to me is that it really feels like a new way. It's like a omprogrammering.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to say in English, but of how to build things and how to build a structure. So I feel that I have to let it sink in and like let it move in me and so. That's my reaction. Thank you.
Yeah, I feel a bit similar. It feels quite complex, and for me, it would help to have like a visual thing of how the top circle and the different circles would be related or communicate to each other. So that's what I'm missing right now.
Yeah, one thing that came to mind was when I tried to project it. It was a past comment about having it as a governmental, nationwide, and that seems very still far. More like a dream because we don't all have the same vision, and that's the main, like you said, it's the main thing. That's where you start. So I did have a question about the base circle that makes more abstract decisions, but even for creating that circle, there has to be a consent. Yeah, you have to choose the people. Yeah. Yeah, I guess I have to have a better picture of the circles too.
Yes. Not touch.
It seems that this is really about responding actually to transformation, because as it stated that there can always be a solution. Basically, there can always be a consent somehow, but depending on where it starts to where it ends, that transformation that happens could be quite large, and so I see it as that, and that, like you said, time and space. It's just really a matter of these factors and going through all the possibilities that can be. So I see it as also a niche in time and space. That does anyone know what a niche is? It's like a niche. Yeah, like it's like a space you can occupy. So it seems to be very much associated with that, because it takes that for the consent, for the sociocratic circle to function. Without that, there is no way to come to the consent. Yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Thank you. Thank you very much for commenting. I really appreciate the thoughts, and I really feel I need to clarify something. I said in the beginning I will go from consent decision making, sociocracy, and back and forth. It's really important to be clear what is what. So I want to clarify that with the consent decision making, there is actually one circle. There is a group of people. It can be two people, persons, or it can be more. But in the consent decision making, that's it. And then when it comes to top circles or different kinds of circle structures, then we're going to Sociocratic circle structures. That is not consent. That is they're practicing consent decision making, but it's a structure of government in the whole organization. So that's not the main topic now. So
it's more advanced than just basic consent.
Yeah. We will not go into that in detail now. And I hope that I will clarify even more on the next page, but that's it, because I think it's a genius flow chart called consent decision making short format. Remember this. But here we come to a place where it's really clear where we are, and I will just run through this really quickly, and then we will repeat it afterwards. And this is the consent making in short format, and then there are different kinds of format. But for you to understand the structure, there is a person. There are different roles in a consent circle, and I will quickly mention them in the end. And I will mention them through what we are going on. In the consent, in the circle, there is one facilitator that is facilitating the meeting. It doesn't have a higher hierarchy or a higher role or anyone. That's just holding the group together. And the facilitator invites proposals from proposees. So one person has a proposal, and this person presents the proposal for the group. And that can be. Do you think that we should continue to video record our workshops? That's a very practical question, and it's not a principal question, so it will probably not come up, but that's just what I had in mind right now. So if there's a question, do you think we should continue, or the proposal is, let's continue to video record our workshops that we're having at Green Earth to share the knowledge with everyone on YouTube. So then it's a proposal with an argument why we should do that. And then there's a question, is there any clarifying questions? And that's just, did I really understand this, or could there have been any misunderstandings? So to this proposal, you have the clarifying questions, and then the facilitator goes around. You can start anywhere, like with Kevin, and then it's the eye contact with the facilitator. So clarifying questions.
Does this include this workshop?
Yes. Yeah, continue. Now we're doing it. So in the future.
So it doesn't include this one. Oh, continue.
Yeah.
Including.
Thank you.
Does it mean we publish it to everyone on YouTube, or does it mean we publish it to the people who work with Green Earth or in our field?
Thank you. I just realized that I made something wrong because it's about gathering questions. So I will write this question up, and then the proposal will answer later. Thank you. William? Clarifying questions?
No.
Others?
No further questions.
And then I already answered you. That was my mistake.
I didn't realize that when you looked at me that it
Okay.
was beginning. I just thought you were doing something else. Like, you were making sure I heard what you were saying, but I didn't really realize what you were saying.
Clarifying questions?
No.
Thank you. So the proposal, Anna, is that the information in the workshop is shared by everyone that has access to a computer and can log online. YouTube.
Sorry, can you repeat that? I was just questioning.
Okay.
No, she logged off.
Everybody
when
will be able to
the bottle
watch it
fell.
that has access to YouTube.
The bottle fell.
So then we've done a clarifying round.
Sorry.
Yes.
Do you always do it by eye contact? Like,
There can be different ways of doing it, but what is important is to save time, because one can say everybody's name and have thoughts and so, but it's not just about clarification. So what it takes is, do I have any clarifying questions for this proposal to reach the aim of the circle? So by just, if the question comes up, do you have any clarifying questions, and that's the facilitator actually calling you, look at me, because I will start looking at one of you, and I start there, and then I go this direction, and if Kemal doesn't look at me, I have to assume that he doesn't have any clarifying question, because that's the chance he gets. If I have been clear in the beginning that I wasn't, now that you have to look at me.
Yeah.
So that's really important that the facilitator clarifies that.
But it says here gathering questions. Is that the same thing?
Gather questions, yeah.
Yeah, that's the same thing.
So then the facilitator, if there is any clarifying questions, then questions come up but no answers.
Okay. So you find all the questions first, or you go one question and find an answer?
No, you gather questions, so all questions are written up,
Yeah.
and then the clarifying questions are answered by the facilitator of the proposal.
Keep away discussions.
Yeah, I understand.
Okay. Proposee or facilitator answers questions afterwards. And then we have a quick reaction round, and this can be a round. It's still, do I have any thoughts or anything that adds value to this decision-making round? Do I have anything that adds value in any kind of way? It's not about questioning. It's not asking if you consent. It's not about that at all. It's about asking if you have any quick reaction that you think adds value for the other members in the circle. If you don't, be quiet and save time. Okay? So it's important that we reach effectiveness, because when we're sharing time here in the circle, like right now we're at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 people, so we spend 1 hour here. That's 8 hours of working time that is spent here. during this hour. So we really have to think about that.
I think important to say that there will be a chance of objections in another round. So now the value we want to add is not about discussing that we have objections. It's just about that kind of positive feeling to the suggestions.
It can be that, can also be quick reaction. You can set a standard really well in the circle, but it can be an emotional quick reaction that feels so good or that feels so heavy. I get tummy when you say it. Can be any focus that the facilitator breaks in. So what's really important in sociocracy and in this also is like we want to have the riverbanks really far. So I don't want to say that we have quick reactions, only have to be really straight about something. Make it clear it's quick reactions, it's not long reactions, it's quick reactions, but the circle that you are in making consent decision making, this consent decision can make a decision on what kind of quick reactions you want to invite. When you choose a facilitator, you will choose a person that will invite a certain kind of quick reaction around yourself. So it's very wide. Don't limit yourself to just open as wide as possible, and then you can narrow it down as you please, as an individual and as a group. So we go for a quick reaction round about the proposal.
Yeah.
Do you have any quick reaction?
Yeah, I feel like I want to say something about it.
And do you think that added something to the group?
No.
Okay, don't say that. Thank you.
You do?
Yeah. You
I'm a little confused about what I'm doing actually.
That's okay.
You said, what was the question?
Propose quick if you have any quick reaction.
Quick reaction. I don't know what I'm reacting
To
on.
the proposal that we should video record all these kind of meetings, just as an example.
That's the example. Okay.
This one?
Time. Can you say time when you don't have anything to say?
No, that's nothing. Yeah. Thank you. So then, now it comes to the action where we are making a decision. Now we come into the consent round. And what I said before, I think I said before anyway, consent is not that everybody agrees, not that everybody says yes. Consent is the lack of objection. So the main question there comes into, is this proposal good enough to bring our circle forward in the direction of fulfilling our aim? Is this proposal good enough to bring our proposal forward in the direction of our aim? Is this proposal good enough to bring us forward to complete our aim, to fulfill our aim? Doesn't say, and it's absolutely very, very important that we need to say that if we have any way, if we have any ideas that can clarify and make it better, so we can come up with better ideas how we can reach our aim, we must say it. But the main idea is it's good enough to bring us forward. And when it comes to this round, to the consent round, the question is asked, do you have any objections? Does anyone have any objections? The attitude in a consent decision making to objections is absolute love. The best thing that can happen in a consent meeting is objections. Because objection is an injection of knowledge and understanding. Because we trying to create bring forward the what you say, collective consciousness of this group. And we are the power of the minds and the spirits and bodies that are here.
So, quick clarifying question. When it says consent supremacy to the argument, that's the exact same as about objections. Like this philosophy you just described as ideology, that's the same thing as supremacy to the argument.
It's a part of it, yes.
Okay.
It's a vital part of it.
Okay.
And it's also that I presented an argument in the proposal.
Okay.
And it's this argument that I presented.
You must then. You must present that then.
If I don't present an argument, there's an assumption that someone better had a better argument because there was none. And
No.
if it's not very clear why the decision is made,
Yeah.
then it's not strengthening the circle at all.
So to have a proposal has to go against something else.
There needs to be an argument why this proposal brings the circle forward to reach our vision mission aim.
I see.
Yeah, I think that's a really helpful thing to say, because I didn't feel that when you proposed shall we continue our workshops to be recorded, you didn't say how the argument supports our vision mission aim, and that kind of made things more confused. So to say it in the argument has to include that, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, our argument was to spread the knowledge to everyone. That was the argument, and that's
exactly.
and an absolute assumption in the consent in the circle is that the members of the circle has a full understanding of the aim of the circle. Because if we don't have a deep understanding of the aim of the circle, it will be really difficult to argue. Then we will be against each other.
That's what you say. We kind of have the same vision and the same. That's what we agree on anyway.
So we have an aim of letting information that raises the awareness of people, to let it out to everyone. That's why it's good to speak on YouTube.
So the argument actually, it's the basis of why you're doing what you're doing, and that it's the reasoning behind it. So you're finding, you're logically thinking, I would do this because this and this and this and this, and I wouldn't do that because this and this and this and this.
And anything in any direction is as good. If the question comes up, do you have any objections? If you agree with the arguments, you don't have any objections. So then you might have arguments supporting the proposal. Then don't bring it forward, because it will take time. And if the decision is good enough, if then there will be objections that are objections against the proposal, and there will be a new proposal formed, then your arguments will come. But otherwise, it's not a discussion. It's nothing else. It's just the collecting the objections. If there's someone not understanding, not thinking that this proposal brings us forward towards our aim in the most efficient way. I will continue. We'll get back to it, so I think we'll be clear. So we have the proposal. Do you still remember the proposal? Good. So now we do a consent round, and then I ask you if you have any objections to the proposal. Stephen? No?
I can think of a lot, but I say no.
Yes or no?
Well, you should say, man.
Yes.
Good, thank you.
Yes.
So that's now we've done a consent round, and the circle did not find consent because there was one objection. Okay. So here we have two directions that we can go from yes. If we find consent, then there's yes, and then we go down here.
Consent is no on this chart.
Consent, yeah. Consent
No
is
objections.
No objections, absolutely. And then there is a decision made, and then we can celebrate and move on to the next item on the agenda. Thank you, Marcus. Very fundamental. So then it's done deal. Then it's we understand in a normal society there has been a vote, and the majority said one thing or the other. Here we have not been voting, because here so far it's similar to, in this situation, if we have been in a consensus organization that just follows the basic concept of consensus, then we would move on to the next topic. We would not be in a different situation than we would be in another situation than we were before. We would still not record our workshops, and that's it. Okay? We will not move on. But then one could have decided, like, yeah, it needs to be two persons that has objections, and then we would have decided this. But in the consent decision making, now we move on to record the objections of the people, or to record the objections. So now I will ask you what is your objection.
I want to play with the devil's advocate in sake of the example, so we understand. So excuse me if it's not a paramount objection. You're very smart, but I just wanted it. So in our vision, mission, aim, we say that we respect the people's freedom and hours of expression, and we want to also protect the individual. So mine would be, since a lot of people give workshops here, not just us, we would have to ask them for permission. There is that a point. So,
Thank you. That's the argument. So that is a very well formed argument that includes what is in our vision, mission, and aim, and this strengthens it's very clear that it has to do us to bring us forward. So then the objections are recorded, and then make resolutions. And then there's a facilitator. Now I'm playing the role of the facilitator, and the proposee comes up with a way how to resolve this. If there is a very complex question, we can be in a situation that we actually don't have enough information to make a decision here. We need to gather information. We need to do research in this question to find more arguments. That can be the situation. It can be also that we have a dialogue. Let's do a round. We can say like, tell me your solutions. Tell me all your proposals. Or let's gather in a group of twos and come up with ideas. Or it can just be what I will do now, since the facilitator is a person that is, not in this case, because we didn't get so far yet, but I was elected to hold the workshop, and in that way I was elected to facilitate also. Since the facilitator has a good understanding of vision, mission, aim, has a good understanding of the proposal, has a good understanding of this objection, the facilitator will now propose something new. And then, where are we? We rework and we present. We actually start from the beginning then. So now we have a new proposal. And the new proposal is that we will continue, as we do now, to record the workshops and share them online on YouTube, so the knowledge that we have here of reaching higher levels will be shared by everyone for no cost, if the people in the room accepts that. Do you have any clarifying questions? Ian?
Yes. So this is not just for this occasion, it's for future workshops as well.
Yeah.
I missed that
Me too.
before. So either it wasn't presented as clearly as it could, or I was not paying attention as I should have.
Now the question is, do you have any clarifying question for the new proposal?
So the clarifying question now is whether this is regarding all future workshops that we know.
Yeah.
Just this one.
The clarifying question is, what does it mean by people in the room?
Okay. Yes.
Well, the only clarifying question I have is, I agree with Marcus. I thought it was only concerning these meetings. So I think it's very crucial that the first proposal is very clear, because
is this a clarifying question for this proposal?
No, but I mean the first proposal you came with, I just nodded, yeah, that's cool, because I thought it was only concerning these kind of meetings.
Yeah.
So all I want to say is, since both me and Marcus didn't get it, and both said yes to the proposal, I think it's very crucial that the first proposal is very clear.
Yes, but this is not a clarifying round. This is a clarifying round, and I asked if you have any clarifying question to the new proposal that I presented.
So yes, I do.
Anything else?
Will it be open on internet for everybody to see, or is it only for green earth in the future?
So then I understand the question from Marcos if it will be on all workshops. if it will be all workshops, there will be in Green Earth, and then the answer is, the proposal is that we will record all workshops in Green Earth. And about asking the people in the room is asking everybody that is in the physical room where the workshop takes place, and that there is a risk of this person to be filmed. These people will be asked if that's okay. And when it's open online, the suggestion was that this will be published on YouTube, and then it's available for everybody that has internet access and access to YouTube as a free space. Yes. Good, clarifying round and propose or facilitate the answer questions. Quick reaction round, Jonas.
Pass. Fine.
It's not quick.
Yes. No.
Yes.
Sorry.
I don't know.
Do it.
About this example, no, but about the workshop, yes.
Yeah.
I think.
But this is about. No, it's about the proposal.
Okay.
Thank you. So it's really important to be in the state of that we're having focus on what we're actually doing, because otherwise we get spread out. And we will come to the questions afterwards. So then there is a consent round. So through the presented proposal, is there any objections? Eden?
No.
Yes.
No.
Marcus, what is your objection?
I would ask for just one clarification, that the consent to record should be, the question should be given to those that are there when the recording starts. Because it's going to be a hassle to ask everyone that comes late whether it's okay to continue recording when we have started. So I have a request for a further clarification.
So it was it seems like there was a clarifying question. Or is it an objection?
It's an objection. I asked that the proposal be amended in this way. That I said. Is that clear?
Good. So once again, since we save time, I will not suggest a brief dialogue after this. And since the person with the objections already came up with a solution from the start, the new proposal will be presented as that we at Green Earth will continue. We will from now continue to record a workshop that we are having in the space to put up online for everybody to access, with the argument that all knowledge and information that are shared here to raise the vibration and the knowledge and understanding of others should be free for others, and that this will be and that the people that is present in the room while the workshop starts will accept that the video will be published with them on. Okay, clarifying round.
What about there can still be legal issues with the people coming late?
Yes.
Clarifying is, will we, if those that come late, will we reject their entrance if they refuse to accept being recorded?
You do?
Yeah, I also see that there can be problems or so with asking everybody. Yeah.
So do you have any clarifying question?
I don't know.
What do you see would be the problem?
What did you say?
What would be the problem that you wanted it to be cleared?
Maybe not a problem, but maybe not the solution is here yet of how it will function practical.
Mm-hmm. Huh?
Yeah, will there be like a set standard how we ask people, or not?
Great. So then I will try to answer these questions. And the idea with this is that these with the people coming late reject entrance and practical questions and set a standard is something that is suggested to leave up to the operational group of workshops and events. So it's up to the workshop holders of people responsible for this to investigate what rules needs to be followed to do something like this. And I think that clears all questions actually. Yeah? Okay, quick reaction on that.
I feel supported.
I must say something. I feel a tendency that I am kind of like almost giving up because you're not like I can't talk like I'm used to. I feel like a poker game almost. It's like so as soon as I like a little bit inch from a topic, I'm out of the discussion. Is it like that? Okay. I just trying to get used to it because I'm not playing my life like that. But I see the point. But I almost feel like I want to scream. But I won't.
Later. Yeah.
No, I think it's set.
It's sick.
Set.
Set.
Oh, set. No, set.
Marcus?
I like the issues that were raised in this example. I learned about the process.
You
I feel a bit confused. Yeah.
Can I say something? Can I go back? My reaction is that to the conclusion that was gained regarding the questions that were justified, that I feel that there maybe should be a set standard regardless of workshop holder.
I think that's a clarifying question. I think we said it also that there will be such standard, but it will not be decided in a circle.
I heard that there would be each workshop holder would come to their discernment of what would be.
The person responsible for workshops
Okay.
to invite to workshops and so will do a project researching and
I see.
discovering
Okay.
what
I heard differently. Yeah.
So you're basically saying we don't have enough information now to make a conclusion because we're not making a conclusion on this topic.
No.
We're leaving it open for another meeting.
Because I thought the conclusion was made that each workshop holder would decide what it would be.
No, right now, so the proposal, I think it needs to be clarified what the proposal was, and I will not say the whole proposal, but when it came to this, the proposal is that we make a decision that we intend to record everything, but we leave it up to the facilitator of events to do research if we can do that in a legal way and publish it free on Facebook, and in what way we need to ask people, and if we need to ask people that they come on time, or maybe in the invitation that we say that we will record people, and then if you come through this invitation you accept. We'll leave it to someone else, but we will still make a decision if we want to do this. But then we will not implement it, then we will direct it to someone else that is in charge of this.
So it's staying open. Not enough information.
No, we are making a decision that the workshops will be recorded. And then we leave it up to someone to find out the things that needs to be done to do it. So we make a decision. We don't leave it open. but we don't know the exact format how it will be done. So we make a decision as a circle that we will communicate to the person that is responsible for the events to find out.
Yeah. Thank you for that clarification.
Good clarification.
But okay, so can I just, as this is a practice round, can I just pull out a second and ask a question from above? So how this just happened, the clarifying question came during a reaction. So what is that? Is that part? The clarifying question came somehow now during the reaction because there was confusion about what the actual the proposal was, what the parameters of the proposal was. Now, is that legitimate?
There is a few things that I will comment. I think I want to run through it another turn and see if we can come to consent or not. But there is really important to see that what the main interest of the circle is. And then if there is an unclarity in the circle, we cannot make, there will not be a consent because there is confusion. And there is no reason to go to consent round if there is an experience of a confusion in the circle. So then it's much better to back up, to create an understanding, to clear out the misunderstandings, and then go to consent round. So right now, I've been trying to push through to go do it a few times, so we get some practice in it, and I think that's for the better good of the circle, and then we can step back, and then we can reflect after some practice of some good pace. But it's very important to clarify the issues, otherwise we cannot make good decisions. So that was an outside question, so then we go back to the round where we have, this is the third proposal presented. We've been doing clarifying questions, and we have done a quick reaction round. So then the question again is, do we have any objections to the proposal? Yes. Iden?
Jag hade dålig bild, men vad var frågan?
Har du några invändningar? Do you have any objections?
No.
Yeah. Good. So then we can announce decision and celebrate. So well done. So this is really it's really exciting to do this because we have done this once at Go for Life, and it's really difficult to do this in the beginning because there are many challenges in it to do it in the beginning. And one of the main things that is so important is to make a proposal, present the proposal before the meeting. To give people a chance to understand the proposal so we can breathe. That's why I took such an easy example. I took a proposal that had so few parts, but still it brings up questions. So present the proposal in a way that you prepare it for suggestion. Present the proposal by sending it out a few days before so people can go through it. So people can send back clarifying questions. Can you please clarify what do you mean with this? Can send back objections. This is not good because this objects throughout. And then we save time together. And then since we are working together, we're not working against each other. All these objections would have come before. We have more time to think. We open up for more suggestions. Maybe we will sleep over it. More solutions will come, and then we come together in the group. It will be the perfect written down proposal presented, and we'll be strong in it. So that's one of the main lessons: prepare and communicate the proposal before.
Just for the sake of the practice, will you actually announce the decision, and will we actually celebrate? I mean, just for the sake of completing it, since you haven't done that.
What do you mean?
Well, I haven't heard that we actually, pronounce the decision and celebrate. Since we're practicing it.
Yeah, this is, I think it can be done in different ways. So I think now maybe I missed it, but I think it said it. Now we made it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well done. I remember that, but maybe I missed that.
No, you said it actually.
And that was right in this example the announcement and the celebration.
Okay.
So it can be done in different ways, and I think that's what we have time and space for. So I want to announce now that we're 14 minutes past 9, and that's quite behind time schedule. But I think it's important to go through some other things. So the question is, do we have, how much more time can we spend? Eden says have to go soon. I think everybody wants to go soon. Kia will have to go when?
I mean,
10 minutes?
It's best to leave a little bit before.
10 minutes.
About that. Yeah.
In 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Eden, is okay for 10 minutes for you? So okay for everyone 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Good. Also, so the proposal. Propose each share proposal, invite for clarifying question, objections before meeting for effectiveness and transparency. It's really, if we don't do that, it's difficult to share a proposal in a clear way for transparency also. Because there is a word missing. It's like, I don't understand a word that doesn't resonate. It can be any kind of these things. But if we have time to sit back, lean back, Anna did it great today with the vision mission name. She sent it out to everyone to give it a chance. So I went through it, and someone else did, someone else didn't, and then it's up to you. If one doesn't read it, then it doesn't bring the circle and the string to get it maximum, but anyway, to have the chance to bring it up. It's a great way of doing it. And then what is so amazing, beautiful, the simplest proposal came up. Very fundamental, we're not that emotionally attached, but the power of the minds. These things, the objections that came up, they could have harmed us so badly, so much they could have harmed us. So if this would not have come up, if this would have been a top-down decision, we would have made a decision that could have harmed us, that would have put lawsuits on us. Just because we made these rounds, we made them efficiently, we accepted and we loved the objections, we welcomed them. The proposal became so much better. What do you think? Did it improve? Yeah. So with these things, I really appreciate you your expression of that, like space to express. So what this gives a practicing is clarity. We need space for clarity, and now we're doing something for the first time. And then the question is, where are the borders where we are swimming in? It's difficult to experience that for the first time. And I'm sorry if we went too fast.
No, I get your point. It's very unusual, that's it.
Yeah. So it's also
why to reflect.
Yeah. Also. We need, that's why it's also important to take the time to really understand this process, because when the process is in place, then the flow will be tremendously. And for me, I experienced the flow of objections coming in and the proposal being refined. But really, being clear in these states, having clarifying round that comes with really clarifying questions to support, seeing we're working together, we're becoming stronger together. And finally, make resolutions. So there are many ways of making resolutions, and now we made it very simple to make it go through it quickly. And the facilitator made up new proposals and got support from one of the persons with objections. But really to use all of these things, depending on how complex the problem is. The point is, with consent decision making, we could leave the room without a consent, but then we will not leave the question. With the power of consent, there comes these arguments from different directions, and these arguments strengthens the proposal. And this strengthens it so it's so aligned with our vision aim that we consent with it. We will not leave the question until we are at that point where we consent with it. It's no rush, but we'll then accept everything. This Monday we had a meeting at Go for Life, and the suggestion was, can we have Monday meetings every second Monday? And then there was rounds, and there were arguments presented, and it ended with the new proposal. That the new proposal is to continue to have meetings every Monday, but making them more efficient, because that was what the argument in the beginning was. So then was the proposal of something new that was as before.
I have a question.
But the proposal was still consent.
Did you come up with solutions as to how to make it more efficient? Because then the whole meeting of consent is not worthless, because that's a very strong word, but do you see what I mean? Like, did you come up with how we're going to make it more efficient? Because just to say, we keep meeting every Monday, but in a better way, it's still very vague. It's almost like not having said anything.
Well, yes. I think yes.
Sorry.
I was thinking, is there any rule or something on how the equality, or like how many proposals each guy is allowed? I mean, if I sit home and figure, I probably can come up with 25 proposals. And if I'm a little like slick about it, I think maybe 15 will get done, but 10 will come through. You see, the guy who comes up with most proposals will steer in his direction. Isn't there a risk? I'm curious. Do you?
It's a very good question. And what is in the values of sociocracy, as you can see in the beginning, of transparency, equivalence, and effectiveness, what this says is that is your thoughts. But your thoughts will be measured in the circle with the circle's aim. So if your ideas goes in the direction of the aim, then you come with great input to the circle, to strengthen the organization to reach the aim in a more efficient way. So then we will thank you a lot. But it will not be your show, because you're a part, and your part is as important as all other parts of the circle.
And if the proposal didn't match the mission, vision, aim, then most likely it wouldn't pass.
But that's the thing. There's no such thing as on pass. So
I mean,
can I just give an example?
most likely it would be mutated to
Exactly. Right. So if someone proposed from now on we should allow smoking inside the Earth, then it would eventually turn out to say, like, right? It would, the new proposal would be, it will be never ever ever allowed to smoke, and then everyone would say yes.
Yeah, maybe, exactly.
So everything will pass, but on the way it may be transformed into the opposite or to nothing.
No, never nothing.
Okay.
There will always be a consent. There will always be a decision made in a consent round, where 100% of the group, with 0% of the group having objection. That will always happen, and it will always be presented with a proposal, always. But if it needs to have anything to do with the starting proposal, the answer is yes. It has to be the same. It still needs to be about smoking, but it doesn't need to be anything about allowing anything in this case. Nothing.
Yeah.
Yes. So quickly, what happens after policy making? So once we make a decision, then the answer was that we need to move into something else, where someone else do research and see how we can implement this actually. And it comes to an operational group, like that is the facilitator of workshops. And then we come to here, where we have a feedback loop that is a part of sociocracy, where there's a decision made, and now someone has to plan it, implement it, and evaluate it. So then we put it into this organization, into this structure. Plan it, implement, evaluate, and then we go over and over and over here until we find the perfect way, and then we continue to evaluate it.
And is it effective that in the same meeting we do another consent round as to who is going to be part of this department and who is going to be the head of it and who is going to lead it?
It's not this, right now we have a description of who is in charge of events, I think, so it will fall to that person.
Alright.
That comes with the job description.
Yeah. That comes with a job description, and the job description role election happens in a consent round. There is papers, you can read about it at home, and we can have a discussion about it. We'll not go through it in detail. So what happens afterwards? We plan, implement, evaluate, and then what is really, really important is to keep track of this. Because here is an organization, we are a circle, we make decisions, and we need to keep track exactly, because it's difficult to know what did this person actually say. Now we have it on video, so that's easy. But otherwise, so we have a logbook, and the logbook keeps track of decisions and follows it up. And the logbook keeps track of all decisions, where when they will be implemented, who will do it, when it will be evaluated, if it supports us reaching our aim or not. It can also be a secretary can just, it's a normal meeting secretary, but that's different. The protocol is not the same as the logbook. The logbook is only keeping track of the decision that is made in the circle and follows them up. Yes. So then we go into a quick reaction. We have 2 minutes, quick reaction round.
I like the simplicity of it.
I see great potential in this format. I like the narrowness of it. Actually, I like the focus.
You do?
I feel a bit overwhelmed and interested in it. Yeah.
I support what Caroline and Marcus said.
Thank you. So I want to read through quickly. The goal is to create a good understanding of the concept, for you to have an argument why consent decision making is good or not. Having feeling and knowledge about consent decision will to connect you stronger to the purpose of why we are here, and to simplify so that we can be more in the space of in the heart through the work. So quick feedback on the goal. Where do you think that you are about reaching this goal?
I feel that it supports us well in our way to what we actually say now with his name. So I think it's very good.
You do?
Du får upprepa frågan.
In what do you think that you have reached this goal, or is this goal reached? Do you have this understanding, or what do you think is left to reach? Or what parts of this goal do you think is not reached?
What goal? Sorry.
To create a good understanding of the concept of consent decision making, for you to have arguments why consent decision making is good or not, and have a feeling and knowledge about decision making to connect you stronger to the purpose of what we're doing here, to simplify it and allow you to be more in your heart.
Okay. I mean, I think it's too much to answer on a quick answer right now. But the essence of how I feel now, that it really demands to be to know what you talk about, and it really opens for leadership in everyone. I think I feel really. I mean that's a big topic. I think that one really has to be centered and honest, and it comes up a lot with that. So I can't say that I understand everything at all, but I feel that it moves in me, kind of. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
30 seconds for the rest to share. Marcus.
The goal is too wordy to respond to quickly, but I'd say the first half is fulfilled, the second half I don't know much about.
Thank you.
I will think about it and understand it more later.
Yeah, same.
It takes a lot of time.
Well, so thank you very much for your patience and being here and being present and being open to this sharing of a challenge for myself and for ourselves. So I invite you to come up with ideas how we can continue this further on, but now we have to close this. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.